Thank you. Hi, John. How are you?
Sliding around. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to welcome Jon Pousette-Dart. Today we're featuring American classical songwriter and folk rock songwriter. John has incredible credits under his artistry. He has a handsome website and a handsome YouTube channel. But I wanted to introduce to my audience to just read a short review from Alan Cackett, who is a freelance journalist and manager. This review says everything about John. So this is about, I think he was reviewing John, one of his record. By the way, John has produced 10 published 10 records. This excellent solo album, a delicate and spare, haunted and haunting work of bittersweet Southern R&B, forlorn, folkish, soft rock, and ragged country soul. The songs are very personal in their genesis, yet universal in appeal, dealing with love, lost, and found, as well as the joys of life itself. Jonathan Pousette-Dart's gift is his ability to bring the listener into his world. There's at once an inherent familiarity and lived-in vibe with Talk. Talk is the CD album, his most personal album to date. Timeless is a good word for it. After more than 4 decades of music making, Jonathan Pousette-Dart's work remains every bit as adventurous and inspired as ever. With his album, he has found a new focus to his sound, a looseness that always stays sharp, never loses the root of his work, and ultimately reveals new layers in his inimitable style.
Well, I wouldn't have put it that way myself.
It's so wonderful. Thank you.
That's a lot of description there, that's for sure.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Jonathan, tell us a little bit about your background, please.
Well, I grew up, your husband and I were very close friends when we were young in Rockland County. And we spent a lot of time at the time when I was kind of really coming into my teens. I'd already fallen in love with music. I knew music was going to be my calling. It was something I grew up in a family of artists, but my grandparents, my entire sister, my son, everybody were painters. But I knew that for me, it was everything. I was informed by my ear. And my sister was 5 years older than I was, and she used to kind of come back with, they used to have these little lunch pails with singles in them, the kids would carry around back in the day in 45s. And so I would steal her records and just and basically, just pick up. I had a very funky old silver tone guitar. I think it was the first instrument I had.
Mm-hmm.
Got for me on the ham radio. He was a ham radio operator, and I just taught myself, how to play from listening to records. I'm not formally trained at all. I did a little bit of studying, but So then, going in from that point, from early teens, I was just in love with music, and I just played around. And a lot of places where your husband John was, Juhl, there's a place called Skyview Acres, and there was a lot of musicians around, hanging around at that time, including the Ruse Brothers, who I still play with. And so I just, I knew that's what I was going to do. And the rest of my, as I said, the rest of my family were all in the art world, but I, so music was calling for me. So I was, when about the late 60s came, the Vietnam War was still going on. And I was called. I was, at that time, the newspaper, the New York Times, would come out, and they would list the numbers on, all the draft numbers that were for the people who were going to be called. And I was listed. I got called number 57, so I was inducted. And I decided that I wasn't going to go to Vietnam. So I went out to University of the Pacific in California, where I met a bunch of people I would know for the rest of my life. John Troy met there, and he became the bass player in the band years later. So it was just something that I knew very young that that's what I would do. I felt like I was kind of wasting my time going through academia and whatnot. And I was not an academic. My father wasn't an academic. We were kind of very, it was a very kind of different upbringing for me.
Your father is a famous painter.
Mm-hmm.
Is this his work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very abstract, kind of, huh?
He was what was called, the school was called the New York School of Abstract Expressionists, and he was a contemporary, he was friends with, Pollock and de Kooning and Motherwell, and all those people were post-World War II artists, were all kind of in a movement at that time, which he was a key member. And so he was very ensconced in that, and we were around a lot of artists my whole life. And,
yeah. So his name is Richard, right? What's his name?
Yeah. Richard Pousette.
Yeah. Check Richard Pousette-Dart out. It's a very famous painter. Yeah. So speaking of early work, you started to make CDs. The first CD I saw listed on your website is 1976. So could you play us your old work right now?
You want to hear something old?
Yeah, I love old stuff. I'm an old soul.
Old, okay, old.
I'm already old.
I wasn't thinking of playing this, but John Troy and John Curtis and I, as a trio, played our brains out. We played through, I signed a management contract with Don Law, who was a promoter in the New England area, and he was very well connected, and he just stuck us on the road relentlessly. I mean, we never came off the road. And when we first got our first record deal, we were signed out of LA, and the guy who signed us, Al Coy, was fired 10 days after he signed us. And then they just said, well, we don't know what we're going to do. We're going to send you down to Nashville. So they sent us to Nashville, and that's where we started recording. And that turned out to be, it was
life-changing.
You couldn't have planned it. I mean, that's how crazy the business was. So and so we wound up doing the first record and the subsequent records in Nashville at the old Quadraphonic. And this was one of the first songs we cut. What can I say? What can I do? This heart is dying for love is true. Spend all my nights looking for you. Seems such a waste feeling this blue. Where can one go to stop the rain? If it's only for a while, it'll help just the same. What can I say? What can I do? This heart is dying rings true. If you hear me, darling, come to me now. It's been too long. This must stop now. Spend all my nights looking for you. Seems such a waste. Feeling this blue. What can I say? What can I do? This heart is dying for love. Oh, no, 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 darling. Oh, no, no, That was that actually was the first,
Nice.
45 record we made. That was. I always figured after I made the 45 record, that was it. We're done and gone.
It's very sophisticated, like a harmonic progression in the middle, almost like you left the key or something, and then you come back, and it's very interesting.
There's a little bit of moving around, I guess.
Who said Neil Davison is there? It says Juhl.
Oh,
This
Neil's
came
great.
out. Neil Davison. Hey, John Juhl's there too. I can put the people's comment on here. You see, Juhl, this came out as a recorded before CDs were made.
These are albums, right? Well, I actually have. I actually have the 8-tracks. We were back in the era of there were 8-tracks still being made when we cut our first records. So I have the 8-tracks and the singles. That early stuff. I think that when because I grew up with the era of the Beatles, and that was like, they were, for all of us. So when I got my first Capitol record, 45 record with the Capitol logo, like the Beatles, I figured that was it. I've arrived. So that was like everything that.
John is asking you, so can you play some slide?
Yeah, I opened a little bit with some slides.
Slimy slides.
Yeah, well,
So I was wondering, now, like you said, you listen to a lot of Beatles in your days. Who like who's your major influence? Like other than Beatles, are there some other genre music also influence you? Like, I mean, do you call yourself what, folk, rock? That's a lot, folk and rock.
I think that, for me, and a lot of artists like me, I mean, I came up at a time when, one of the greatest things about this country is just the melting pot of really amazing music that we have. And so I fell in love, my sister would bring back blues records, which I got exposed to pretty young. And so I really fell in love with Muddy Waters and Elmore James. I was particularly slide guitars, guitar players really attracted me. Just because they just hit me. So I was really moved by, all the really great early blues players. And then, as time progressed, a lot of the real roots music that came out of New Orleans and Memphis and Nashville, but and the South just was loaded with all of this stuff that was just like, it's just as deep as it gets. A lot of the Muscle Shoals stuff and a lot of the early records that really moved me were these just, it's just undeniable, and it's just, and it was such a great part of it's such a great part of the American tapestry that, you have this wealth of information to go to, this wealth of music that you can learn from. That's, it's just, I think it's the best in the world, some of the best in the world. I mean, I love African music. I love all kinds of music, but, America was like a melting pot coming down the Mississippi River from Chicago to New Orleans, and there was just this, everything going up and down that corridor was just magical. The music that was happening before I was born, and all of that. So all of that affects, everything. All that affects gets pulled into, whatever you're doing as a musician or writer, because you just can't help but love it. So you synthesize it. It becomes part of you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my connection is a little funny because it is in and out from my microphone. So now, yeah. So I have not every CDs of yours.
Mm-hmm.
I have this one.
Yeah, that one didn't make it to final. Yeah, that got put out again. That one was put out on another cover too. Yeah.
I have this one, and this one is interesting.
Sample this, yeah.
Okay. So it says the CD also becomes a DVD.
My cousin, Chris Meredith, up out of Nantucket, created he made an interactive game that's in there that you can put on if you play on a computer, where you can try and everybody knew about the song Amnesia, where they'd hit me on the head with a beer bottle. That was what the song is about. So he made a game where you could sit there and smack me on the head with a beer bottle. It's on that.
Yeah.
Record. He was really very talented with coming up with really creative things like that. So that one has a little bit of interactive things that are part.
Yeah, John. Let me see. I hear some funny sound. Okay.
I'm not hearing you now.
Hold on. If not, I may need you to put a headphone on because
Okay.
yeah, like that. Yeah.
I'm not hearing you through the headphone, but
yeah, I know. I hear you from my computer, so it's very strange. This connection. Hold on one second. When I move something, it changes. Hello.
I'm seeing you pretty solid here.
Hello. I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then I have like this one.
That's Heart and Soul came out after Sample This, and then and that was,
this is the older one, right?
Yeah, Put Down Your Gun actually had a lot of things that were on the It's About Time. They were kind of a mixture of two.
I love a lot of songs there. I like Oklahoma. I also like You Are Amazing to Me.
Oh, yeah, you can play that if you want me to.
It's so romantic.
I can play that if you want.
Your wife is a lucky woman.
Play this for Dawn. She's in the background somewhere out here. She's upstairs. Yeah. I wrote this with a really, by the way, I want to say hi to Neil. Neil Davidson, who checked in, is a really brilliant engineer. And he's been just a godsend, such a great friend. And he's helped me build the studio out here.
Yeah. That's Neil. Yeah. Hi, Neil.
Yeah. So I'm hearing an echo. I'm going to turn this down for a second because I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah. I hear like a little bird.
I always thought that I could still the waters. I wrote this with Fred Knobloch. Sail on the raging sea, build a fortress high and mighty. No one would ever conquer me, and I could always keep my distance until I heard her call my name. The very first time she kissed me, I knew my heart would never be the same. You're amazing to me. How can this be? Such a sweet surrender. Who could have thought I would fall in love forever? You're amazing. You're amazing to me. I never thought that I could see What beneath the shooting star? Finally say the words I love you. I forgot some of the words. You know inside my heart it's true. And I can hear the softest whisper. And I can feel the slightest touch. Don't really understand the mystery. How art could change so much. You're amazing to me. How can this be? Such a sweet surrender. Who could have thought I would fall in love forever? You're amazing. You're amazing to me. Such a sweet surrender. Who could have thought I would fall in love forever? You're amazing. You're amazing to me. That's some of the words.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I like so many album and so many songs of yours, not only just the music. I think you have this magic way of telling stories, and your titles of your work is very interesting. It's very grabbing. You know, the title of your composition, a lot of times the songs are not very long. They're short, but they're like you're very inviting to your audience. Like they want to click on that thing to find out what it is. You know, so I have a question about your composition style. I am always a player. I hardly wrote anything, so I don't have much concept of how composer or songwriter works. In your case, is the melody comes first, or is the word come first? How does that work?
So that's kind of a, I think that's a universal question. I think that it happens every which way. Sometimes you'll hear, you'll have a set of just 4 words or spark an idea to go with, and then other times you'll have a couple lines. And other times it's something that comes from the music. And so it never really happens in a fixed way. It's always moving. I think it's, it's kind of a mysterious process where it comes from. And by that, I mean, I think that the best songs for me I've found are almost like, it's almost like I'm not writing them. It's almost like you just happen to be in a place where you're in a neutral state, and it almost kind of, you're just aware enough that it passes through you. And it's almost just like capturing something at the time that it occurs. And if you're fortunate, you can get it down. But I think the best songs, I think, come in that way for the most part. For me, that's been kind of like, if I can just get out of the way and let it happen, it's kind of the way I think the best things come about. But, I also, when I first started out, I only wrote myself. I never wrote with anybody. And then, in the early 90s, there was a label in Nashville called Asylum, and the A&R guy there called me up and said, "Do you want to come down here? And we want to set you up with writers." And I'd never co-written with anybody. And so it was like I was had tremendous trepidation, because he set me up with 2 weeks of writing with somebody every day for 2 weeks straight. That's like the Nashville thing. They used to just kind of, when they want to kick the tires and see how much they can get out of you. That was the way it used to be. Not so much anymore. Exactly like that. And so I got used to just walking in a room with someone and not having anything fixed, and just trying to find where your common place was. And a lot of really great things came out of that. I'm not doing so much of that anymore. Now I find myself, when I co-write, wanting to write with specific people that I really had kind of a good relationship with. There's been a couple of people like that for me. Fred Noblock has been someone I just love to write with. Jamie Kyle, someone that I love to write with. Daryl Scott are people I love to write with. We can just always kind of find kernel and come up with something. But it's kind of a mysterious process. I wish I could say that I had, I wish I could say that the more you do it, the easier it becomes, but it really doesn't. It's like, it's always a struggle to find what you can say that has the impact you want it to mean at the moment, especially now, right now. I find this whole conundrum that we're in with COVID and the state that our country is in to be a very, really difficult thing to just kind of come up with some, simple, blithe phrase that kind of can say anything meaningful, because it's such a deep,
right.
It's such a deep area, for all of us. And so it's, I think it's a struggle for all artists, of how to, and artists really need to kind of lift people up through these times. And so that's
right.
The job, I think, right?
Do you know John Troy?
I do know John Troy. John Troy was John Troy was, I was listening. He did a show last night, his own TV show, and I was with him for 2 hours last night. He was the original bass player in the band, and he's like,
he made a comment. That's all your friends. That's sweet.
John Troy has a voice like no other, and a bass player like no. He was one of my we're like soulmates. And
your friend, I think, also Greg Culture. Manchester, Vermont, realtor.
People all over the place, right? Yeah. So the world is.
Stay in touch with Curtis, and any collaboration planned in future with he and John Troy? Yeah, he's asking the question.
We would love to. I think that we would more than love to do it. John has had a health condition that's kind of impaired his ability to get around. He's out in Laguna Beach, California now, and it's hard for him to. He's even, I think, laid back performing live in his area, and he's doing webcams like this, a show every Tuesday. He's got his own show, Troy's Taco Hour, I think. That's it. And so he's doing that. And I wish there was, but there, I don't see it right now, simply because it's just of life.
So Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm talking to our audience, and for those of you, if you have not catch up with Jon Pousette-Dart's music, his website is jonpousette-dart.com. It's really well laid out with music, with press, with biography, with the CDs, with the everything's very, very nicely planned. So, and John also has some nice YouTube videos on his YouTube channel. So all the link is underneath in this video, when you can look up, or you can just type in his name into this. So I am Ching Juhl. Like John said, the relationship I have with Jon Pousette-Dart is I met John many, many, many years ago, right? When our son is very tiny. And so John, we used to go to John's house. My husband is John's childhood friend, John Juhl. And so we go to John's house in the country. We go to John's house in the city for New Year's Eve. And also I admire John's wife, Dawn's work. She's a filmmaker and actress.
Some really wonderful work, yes.
Yeah. She's you guys are doing really great in terms, working, not only just being a family member. I also want you guys to, if you like this program, I have been doing this called A Conversation with Someone Special for 17 episodes. And also, I also do with other political groups like Yangan. And please subscribe my channel, Juhl Media, if you like this. And I'll do like two episodes of A Conversation with so and so per week, Monday, Wednesday, 4 o'clock usually. Okay.
Good. And I also want to mention, what John Troy just checked in. He has a show he does every Tuesday from 7 to 9 o'clock our time under John Troy on Facebook, which is. I'm usually there, like, we're all commenting when he's doing
okay.
And the other thing I wanted to know about you, Ching, is, I don't know how many people realize how really incredible you are. Your trio was just this amazing, musical force.
Thank you.
And your son Sean is just he's just mind-boggling. I mean, he's really, going to be a major, part of the classical scene for years to come. I'm certain of it, because he just has he's got your, he's got your aura and your strength.
Thank you.
And
Thank
it's
you.
really inspirational for me to see Sean
Yeah.
kind of come up as he is. He's really amazing, and you as well as are you and your trio. So
Thank
I just
you.
people
Yeah.
should know that.
I should play more. I have a trio called Jade String Trio, Jade String Trio. But I do a lot of video work and film and documenting events more than practicing these days. But I did do. You actually asked me to play like a kind of improvisation in one of Sandra's songs.
Yeah, I did. I produced a Moroccan musician named Saida Fikri, and she wanted to make an album in English because she was Moroccan. And you came in and played on it, which was really wonderful. And she now speaks, was when she just was first over here in this country. She's a huge star in Morocco.
Oh, really?
So she's huge. She's huge in Morocco.
Oh my God.
Is what's really been disturbing to me as an artist and a person and a human being is that, at some point, somewhere around the era of Reagan, Bush, and around there was just, somebody conveniently decided to break up the country into the red and blue and kind of create these artificial divisions between people that weren't even there to kind of associate. And people just took sides, and it just was the start of this kind of really nasty, angry discourse now, been created by this, I don't even want to say his name. It's turned this country into this kind of divisive place it is. And people couldn't talk to each other. You used to be able to sit down and have a discourse with somebody. If you disagreed, you can, I disagree. And, you have a discourse, and you both disagree, and that's fine. Yeah. Now people can't even talk. They just if they don't, you don't say what they want to hear, they go fuck you, and they just they walk away and want to do with you. And it's like it's become such it's such a terrible kind of place that this country's been brought to.
I know.
I think people around the entire world know it too. They think that I think they feel really bad for all of us because of
yeah.
Anyway, that was something that I was concerned with when I wrote this. I wrote this with Angela Cassett, and I did had Rhonda Vincent, who's, I don't know if you ever heard of Rhonda Vincent. She's a mandolin player in the South, in Nashville. She's just to die, beyond comprehension. She's just amazing, and a singer, and her band is just like off the scale.
Yeah.
Great. And she did a duet with me on this. Will you walk down the street by my side for a little while? Can we talk like old friends even though we never met? Would you trust your words to me? Let them fall through. Can we just talk? Would you show me a picture of your sweetheart and your family? Will you tell me about your work and what your hands are built to do? Can we sit down for a little while? Remember what it's like to smile. You can ask me anything you want at all. Can we just talk? And aren't there dreams in our hearts that we both share? And aren't our worlds so much closer than we dare to believe in this life? We can shed so much light if we just take the time, you and I. Can we just talk? when we just talk. And you tell me what makes you scared when you lay down your head at night. And I'll show you the broken me, the one who lets his ghosts run free. And we will be two sailors on the same boat on a journey. We will prevail against the wind, against the odds, you and me, when we just talk. When we just talk. When we just talk. When we just talk. That was on talk.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, tell me, what is the song about? It's not black and white about.
Almost the same thing.
Mhm.
You want me to play it? It's almost the same. It's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same train of thought.
Isn't that on your YouTube, right?
Black and white didn't was on supposed to be on a number of records and didn't get included.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not on. I don't know if I formally released it, but I just re-released it as a single. It just came back out as a single now.
Yeah.
It's out there with a short kind of it's not a full video, but there's lyrics and pictures, and it's kind of a collage that Neil Davidson, who's been helping with me with all of that, has been really great in helping me put together.
John made a comment, said, play black and white or let's talk about it. Also song about the importance of conversations.
This is black and white.
Yeah.
It's not black and white. It's not red or blue. It's not right or wrong. It's just me and you. We don't see eye to eye. We don't both agree. It don't mean we're bound to fight. And it don't mean we're free. How did we make it here? Standing so far apart from each other's heart. We must have done something right to put an end to the fight. Sometimes it's almost clear, and it's not just a dream that goes up in smoke when you feel another one's heart full of hope. We both hold the key to unlock the door. If you can only talk just a little more. If I can understand the cards in your hand, maybe then I'll know. If I can walk in your shoes as if they were my own, not just yours alone. Maybe then the sun can shine on both sides of the line. 'Cause it's not black and white. It's not red or blue. It's not right or wrong. It's just me and you. We don't see eye to eye. We don't both agree. It don't mean we're bound to fight. And it don't mean we're free. It's not black and white. It's not red or blue. It's not right or wrong. It's just me and you.
Bravo. Thank you. Bravo. Very nice. I was thinking, you write lyrics for most of your work, right? Do you ever compose something with someone else's writing? Writing meaning lyrics.
I haven't completely written a piece on someone else's music per se. No, I have where you know the closest I've come to that is when is collaborating with other writers where we're sharing pieces. You know what I mean? Like where there's some like Amazing to Me like is a good example of a song that was when I was on a run and down in Nashville where I had 2 weeks of writes, and the last write I had, I'd written every day for 10 days in a row, I think. And the 11th day I was to go write with Fred Noblock, and I didn't have an idea in my head. I was literally like I just had nothing to say. And I called him up the night before and said, Fred, I can come over, but I got nothing going on. I'm just run out of juice. And he said, just come on over. And I came over and we sat down about 9:30 in the morning and wrote that song in 15 minutes. So,
oh, yeah.
It's just, things, it's just amazing. Things come from God knows where, that just, if you're open enough, some things happen. But I would actually like to try and write from something that I cared about and try and write. One of the things that I do like to do, which I did, was I wrote for TV. I wrote for the History Channel. I wrote a show for Gunfighters of the West. I did 5 episodes of Gunfighters of the West with a partner. And I liked writing to picture. So we were basically, they would send us picture dailies and we would write to the picture. And I liked that. That was kind of fun because it was not really lyric, it was more just kind of fitting what was happening, here. And I really enjoyed that. I'm not doing so much of that now. I haven't done it in a while, but that's, maybe a different version of writing to, something, writing to picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So we have some new audiences join us. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like this program, please subscribe Juhl Media YouTube. Also subscribe. Jonathan Pousette-Dart has a handsome YouTube channel. And I wanted to tell you guys, today is the 17th episode, I believe, for one-on-one conversation since the lockdown, that I created this series because I wanted to talk to my friends, talk to experts, or talk to people who can help us in this critical situation. Either people recover from the COVID, or like doctor, my husband.
Your husband is amazing. Jon is a real healer. Your husband is a healer.
Yeah.
Really
so
great.
Yeah, so I thought, and it's developed more and more heavily into music now. But I want to tell you, next Monday, my guest is Fred Child, who is a national classical music station announcer. So if you hear anywhere in the United States have this sexy voice, that's Fred Child. he announces classical music program. So yeah, he lives very close to where I am, and I'm a very good friend with his wife, who is a composer, Wang Jie. And then on next Wednesday, on the 17th, we're going to have a fantastic jazz pianist from Bay Area. Of course, with this platform, I could talk to people all over the world. So it's very neat. Yeah. And then the following Monday, which is June the 22nd, I will be speaking with a professor of philosopher. His name is Carl Wedequist, a very famous scholar. He is very much an expert in universal basic income, which I am also for that, part of Andrew Yan's campaign philosophy. All right, let's come back to Jon. Now, Jon, I saw you have made 2010. You had made a very cheerful, colorful, and interesting music video in Mexico.
Yeah, Heaven is Here. I haven't played that song in a while. I'm not sure if I can play that because
you want to talk about that production.
So the way that came about is it came about in a really interesting way, in that my wife Dawn had done a documentary and was at the it won an award. It was accepted in the Mumbai, India Film Festival, and she went over to Mumbai. And one of the people that she befriended there was a guy named Fabio Blancard, who's Mexican, and he'd done a video about doing aerial hang gliding all over Mexico, and he filmed it from the point of view of an aerial hang glider going over Mexico, and he really amazing, and he won, and so they became good friends. And so several years later, I wrote "Heaven Is Here," and I wrote "Heaven Is Here" because I was at my wife's funeral. The whole family was there for her memorial, and the priest spent the whole time proselytizing to people how they weren't going to be saved unless they came to him. And it made me so unbelievably angry that he said nothing about her mother and just talked about trying to, the people, if they want to be saved, had to come to him, and it was like, I just, my brain, I had to walk out of the chapel. It just kind of made me, my fumes come out of my ears. And so I went back and wrote "Heaven Is Here." And then after I wrote it, I sent it we talked to Fabio, and it said, would he be interested in doing a video? And I sent it down to him, and he said yes. And he said, I'll bring you down to Mexico, and we'll film it in Mexico, because I have an idea for how to shoot it. And so he brought us to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and we went and shot it on this location of beach, just a magical part of Puerto Vallarta, south of the town. And it was just an amazing experience. It was like, and Fabio deserves all the credit for putting that together. And Dawn was with me, and she was part of it. And it was just a great experience. It was like one of those things you couldn't dream of making happen, and it happened. And we had a guy. It was back in the time before there were GoPro cameras. We had a guy who had an electric. He had a motorized propeller machine behind him, and a kite, and he taped a camera to his football helmet and taped it, and just put his eyeglasses at the level where he'd have to look for the camera to film it. Yeah. And he flew over the beach in this thing. Yeah. And it was just so, it's in the video. It's really amazing. Yeah.
You can see that video at Jon's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's nice. It's a very fast rhythm and very, very well done music. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with the COVID-19. Like, how does that direct affecting you, your engagement, your present engagement, your future engagement?
Well, I think all of us. I'm kind of in the same place that everybody is. I wish that I knew. I don't think any of us really know the answer yet. I think that this medium that we're on here is something I'm still trying to decipher, because that's this is kind of a lot of what's happening right now, and it's a different way of working, because I'm used to going, every artist is used to going and performing in front of a crowd, and you kind of it feeds your whole makeup of what you do. It's just part of the process. And when you're just on camera here, it's hard to you're just on kind of, it's also hard. It's harder for me because, like, as I know, one of the things I love about recording is it's like painting. You can go and you work on tracks and you build things, and you can really kind of have an effect on how it winds up, which I love. I love the process of writing a song and then going down and taking it into pieces and recording it. And when you're in this medium, it's almost like you have to find a way how to do that instantly with lighting, and just you're creating the painting instantly. So it's a whole new medium to become good at. And I found that out when I did, when I really learned that is we did a video called "Who I Am" I wrote about Alzheimer's. Dawn and I and just Jamie Kyle wrote about Alzheimer's, and we did a video called "Who I Am." And this friend of mine, Rich White, he's worked with everybody. He's an amazing cameraman, came over and he lit this for us and he shot it. And I could not believe what a master he was at just, at the lighting, just creating this amazing lighting that made everything, it made the whole thing just explode on camera. And that's like such an art, so when you're in this medium here, you're in a whole, you really see, light is everything. It's like you're in a whole different, vein rather than just playing music. You're creating a canvas, and it requires, it's really hard to do without somebody else in the camera. Like, am I doing this thing today? I was like going through gyrations of how to kind of get the mic. Where are you going to put the mic? Is the camera seeing the right level? You know, is the lighting correct? It's like, and on this side of the camera, you know, you can't really do it effectively on that side. So it's a learning experience doing this right now. I mean,
now you can write a song about this experience now.
Well, I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is, because it really is kind of, you know, a brave new world with all of us here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know, so I'm just trying to. I've been trying to just put out singles rather than, you know, because attention spans are so short, and it's, you know, the form of the album is almost disappeared in a certain way, and so I'm just trying to put out songs one by one as they come. I just did one Pieces of Time. I just put out. It's a video and a song I just finished, just put out, and so I'm thinking more of just kind of trying to get things out, you know, immediately, and then, you know, I think there's more to come in terms of this, you know, this medium, and I don't know what's coming. And I also don't know what's coming when, for all of us going back to live work. I don't know, you know, I just don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody knows. I mean, I think we're all in this kind of, I mean, hopefully it will come back to,
And just think about other artists. Everybody suffer. Like, say, I heard Metropolitan Opera Orchestra just fired everybody. So can you imagine, right? I mean, you're like a kind of a self-employed, right? Like you always create your own thing, whether you have a boss or not. But so many people depending on their bosses, right? So
I can't imagine what the orchestras and the symphonies and, you know, all the people around the country in the arts are doing. I don't know how people are getting through right now. I just don't know. And I also, you know, I think it's going to be very hard to kind of climb back. I don't think we're going to go back to normal, you know, ever again as normal. I think we're going to be in another, you know, we've moved to another place now. And, you know, I wish I knew. I really don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I think that we're just kind of in this new territory that's going to be, we're all learning how to adapt to.
And you wrote something really profound. Can I read it? I think I saw that on one of your social media, either YouTube or your website. You said the greatest part of being an American is being a piece of the tapestry of every life across the entire planet, sharing hopes, dreams, trails, and tribulations with every person, no matter their differences. That's just so profound. You know, it's like in like today, in 2 weeks ago's incident, you know, this Black Lives Matters of people protest everywhere, right? So I think that your words was written way before this incident, but I think it's just it just hit the, you know, jackpot, or hit the situation is not isolated. This kind of abuse is always there. Just some are heavier, some are lighter, right?
Yeah, and the root of this country has never been, you know, this country's had a very, very, very troublesome history from the very beginning. It's been a problem. You know, there's been a lot of terrible things that have occurred in our culture and our society, and I think the one thing that's, you know, kind of held the glue that was holding it together was with all these different kind of people. There's this kind of common feeling of being an American, and this guy has just trashed it. This guy has come along and he has just brought the country to its knees. For me, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but, you know, I think that, you know, I don't think there's ever been anybody who's been more divisive or bad to, you know, for your state of mind, for your mental health, and for all people. You know, I think that right now we have a certain group of people that just want a country for the upper 1% that are rich, and then everybody else can go get screwed, you know. And I think that's just, and everybody in the world knows it. You know, I think everybody in the world really feels sorry for us, because we used to be a beacon of light, and now, you know, he's really just kind of taken it apart.
Yeah. So, well, you have a gift of you know, writing music, and people, you're telling stories all the time, and so not everybody has that kind of talent and voice, you know. So we and myself too, I feel fortunate. We have some kind of a vehicle to express how we feel. Would you like to play something else?
I can play
One more?
I can play this piece that's out right now. There's a video on it.
Oh, okay.
This is the most recent thing. Don't know how to write a book. Don't know how to fly. Don't know where the air comes from. Keeps us all alive. I walk down the streets that you do on a different day. But all the places I used to see have all gone away. It might be that I'm growing old. It might be I'm too young. But turning darkness into light is a job I can't get done. I only know to watch the clock as if it was a sign. And mark down the notes in pieces of time. Pieces of time. You can close your eyes and be with the ones you long to see. Pieces of time. When the promise is made, finally come to be. There's not much that comes with hoping for the best. Keeping hands upon the wheel seems to be the test. When you let go and let it drift, you fall so far behind. So I keep my hands upon the wheel and follow the lines. It might be that I'm growing old, it might be I'm too young. But turning darkness into light is a job I can't get done. I only know to watch the clock as if it was a sign. Mark the notes on the page in pieces of time. Pieces of time. You can close your eyes, be with the ones you long to see. Pieces of time. When the promise is made, finally come to be. Pieces of time. Pieces of time. That came out all right. We just put that out. I just put that out.
Yeah, is that the one with the clock?
Yeah,
clock.
that came out.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So so you when you produce these singles, you do it in your studio in Rockland County, right?
Yeah, I really love. When I write songs, I really think of a band in terms of how I do it. I think of being with a band, and the band that is now the band. I've always let people just do whatever they want, just play a song, and if people find their parts. And so,
Yeah.
but I really like having a quartet. Is like really great meeting for people. But short of now of not having that, not having anybody be able to get together. I do work in my studio here, and I play almost all the parts, and then have the drummer fly in the drum parts.
Yeah.
And I've also been sending vocals down to some good friends of mine in New York, John McCurry and Sarah.
Yeah.
And they've been singing backup on a bunch of things, and so we kind of assemble them like in the way that we can.
Yeah.
It's just the way we can do it now. But I wind up playing on the last couple of things I've done. I wound up playing pretty much everything.
Your studio is very impressive. We visited you. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Fun.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful. So let's see if I can. I don't know. I'm trying to figure around to see if I can play your song. It
Oh,
keeps
the site defeater thing.
it keeps going to somewhere else.
God, I
Yeah,
haven't heard that. I haven't heard that in a blue moon.
yeah. Hold
Yeah,
on a
I
second.
see
It
Katie.
keeps
She's back in
just.
Morocco.
Oh, okay. This one. Okay. I don't know if you can hear.
I can't remember where that boy disappeared. I used to hold him close with his eyes filled with fear. He traded in his dreams, but he never knew what for. Now he lives in the world where the sun doesn't shine anymore. Where the sun doesn't shine living in his shadow.
Okay, enough.
You came right up on that and just kind of did that right out of the blue. That was great.
You know what? Do you remember? Was that it? Do you remember the year we did this? Do you remember? Was it 2003? Or
It was like right at the beginning of yeah, it was in that vicinity. I think I'd say it was probably 2003 or 2002, 3 around there.
right? Yeah. It was. I remember it was a very difficult time for me. It was a very difficult time for me because I think I told you about that. I was like in a deep depression, and then I came to you. I sat there and I didn't really know what to do. I mean, like my brain was just shut down, you know. And then you kind of just so patiently just let me, you know, be me, you know.
Yeah, well, that was kind of, I mean, that's, I think that one of the things that has been my modus of operandi, and I learned early on, and because of the band from the original, way Curtis and John Troy and I started is, we would just learn things, and everybody just found their area, and they, found their parts, and I love to create music that way, and let whatever of the other musicians there bring what they're going to bring to it, as opposed to writing down parts. And I learned a great deal from, Nashville was a real great learning experience because the players there are so unbelievably great, and that they really listen to the song. You go into the control room, and you'll play the song down, you'll play a song down just on your guitar, and everybody will sit around and they'll write out their own chart, and you go in and cut, and within 1 or 2 takes, these guys, they just listen. They don't sit there and try and play. They let the song be the star. They have a really this depth of knowledge of how the song is the focal point. And so, I've always thought that's great to just let, I never really write out my stuff. I don't really write music in general. Like, I can read music, but music doesn't speak to me off of a page like it does to you. When you see a piece of music and you can kind of see what it is in your head, that doesn't go for me. I have to sit down and go through it to get it off paper, because it's all from here.
I see.
And that's the way I've always been. I always just, I hear it, and then it goes into, and even when I learn parts and learn stuff on records, I still sit down and just learn what's there on the record, as opposed to going off the chart.
Hey, you should learn Chinese notation. Do you know Chinese Jian Pu notation?
No,
Jian Pu is Jian means simple, Pu is music. The Chinese Jian Pu notation is using number goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1 is do, 2 is re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. So I can pretty much, it's a very useful actually tool when you want to do improvisation. You just say, okay, play F major on this song, and I could just play any song on any keys, 24 keys. If you tell me. Yeah, because it's not fixed. It's not it's a relative key. You see what I mean?
So the really primitive method, that's a much more, I think that's got a much more historic and depth to it than in the Nashville system. They go by the number system, where they write it out instead of going to writing down the chords or keys or whatever. They just write down the numbers corresponding to what the music is doing number wise.
Okay.
And so it can be in any key,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
each chart can work for
So
any key or
they
singer.
write 145 when you say chord.
They
145.
everything is numbered. There's no you
Oh,
don't write out.
so it's like similar to Chinese.
It's kind of like, I think it was somebody trying to interpret that in a very much simpler way.
Yeah.
You know, the number system is something that's been part of the Nashville scene for
Right.
beginning. Yeah.
That's cool.
But what you're describing is a little more evolved, I think. You know.
Yeah. So, but Jempo is. I'll show you next time when we meet each other. I'll show you what Jempo is. Yeah. So, yeah. So, great. Thank you so much, John.
Well,
I want to
experience.
thank you, for share your talent with us and singing for us.
Well, this is such a great, this is a great learning experience for me because, this is, as I said, everything about all the mechanics of, where you put the mics, the room, it's all just such a tapestry to learn, and I'm pretty far from having it nailed in any way. It's going to be long.
So tell us finally how you're setting up. Yesterday we did a sound check and you didn't like it. So tell us what were you doing yesterday? What did you do today?
Well, I went back to where I was yesterday, but my levels are off. I'm shooting with a EOS 5D, which is a full frame Canon camera, using it as a webcam. And then I'm taking the audio through. I'm taking very good. These are recording mics, Microtech mics I use that I love a lot. That I use a lot in recording. 2 of them going into a preamp, and they're the buffer to the camera. And so the hard part is getting the balance correctly, because in the beginning when we first sat down, everything was all distorted and sounding terrible to me, and I thought it was going to be horrible. But I just really backed it down and found. But the hard part of this is, you really, it's to really do this right. You need someone on the other side of the camera who's moving with as it goes, and adjusting as things move.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the hard part for everyone, I think, because you're being asked now as an artist to be an engineer, lighter, an artist.
Multitasking.
You're being asked to do everything now.
You're one-man band.
Yeah, you're a one-man band. I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not these. I mean, the streaming thing is really a different animal. It's got a whole nother, the compression, the codecs, and what you're going through, and how it alters, what's happening live is all new to me. I'm not, because I'm used to recording, and then you take it off and you create a file and you work with the file. But when it's just going out instantly and you can't manipulate anything.
Right. What you see is what you get.
That's it. Like it or not.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, there's a lot of truth there. There's rawness, and there's a lot of uncompressed, undecorated sound. In a way, it's very, I don't know. It's a risk. We are taking a risk.
It is a risk, and the one thing about it that I'll say is for me, songs. When I know I have a song, songs for me always have to come down to being able to play them just as with one, which is a guitar, and that's it, and it's piano vocal or guitar vocal, and that's it. And you find out whether you have a success by sitting down and kind of in front of a group of people, and immediately whether you have something or not, because the live audience really is the place to tell.
Mm-hmm.
When you can do something, when you have a real song, and when you don't. And so, the simplest form of the raw form of it doesn't exist in that spot. Then nothing you can do, no matter polish you can put it, can make it happen. It's got to have it right in that raw, unpolished place.
Right.
And if you have it there, if it exists there and it's alive there.
Right.
It's like, so it's like songs are like children. I always thought like songs are like children. Some come to life, some just fall down dead and just fall over, and the others just carry on that you don't even expect. So you never know which one is going to be the one that carries and which one doesn't. They just kind of have their own life.
Yeah. So tell us hypothetically, if the United States opens up in September, what is your next major sort of a goal or performance?
We have dates. I mean, the dates, we had dates through June here, this month that were, canceled, that I'm not sure when we've tentatively rebooked them. But most of the bookings that were in for this year have come back in 2021. I think simply because most of the venues are afraid of,
Mhm.
of committing and then not knowing what's happening, because a lot of them had, a couple of ones we were almost going to play the dates, and then they got pulled at the last minute because this all happened so fast and nobody knew what to do. So a lot of stuff fell out. I think a lot of people, a lot of these clubs, like you're talking about, symphonies and orchestras and all the club owners, had a livelihood that's kind of been built in. It just, so it's been an absolutely devastating time, I think, for absolutely everybody. I mean, I think everybody's just gone, reached a new place that,
Yeah. So do you one more question, or you can conclude our session. I was just wondering, during this COVID and during this lockdown, do you find yourself feeling like you produce more, or you cannot focus as well as before?
I'm not feeling terribly focused. I have to say, it's like I'm feeling really kind of troubled by.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't think it's just something where I go, oh, I'm going to write a song today. It's like it's not. I mean, it's because it's impacted. It's a whole other set of constraints, and it's just a reality that none of us ever thought would come. And then I think that on top of these horrible, events that have happened in the country, and which brought this to light. These things have been plaguing the country for so long.
Right.
It's really, it's a devastating place that the country's in, and I just really hope that we find. I'm really hoping that I mean, I don't, I'm politically pretty left, but I mean, I really hope that
somebody asked you, are you a youngin?
Yeah. I just really think that we have to get this administration out of there.
Is John a youngin? That must be a youngin ask. I was a youngin.
A youngin? I don't know. What does youngin mean?
That means you're not a youngin. Youngin is people who support Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is was Democratic presidential.
I liked Andrew. Oh no, I liked him. I liked him a lot. But I mean, right now, I think the only shot we have is Biden, and I think we just have to get Trump out. We have to, the country's got to start to regain some of its soul. It's just a devastating blow for all of us.
Yes, I saw from your website there is a publication called No Depression.
Yes,
that's a music magazine. It's a music. It's a quarterly root music journal, right? From mostly online, and they quoted you. They say Pousette-Dart's remarkable career is graced by instinctively engaging melodies that define the many facets of his expressive outreach. Oh la la, there's so many fancy words I don't know how to pronounce. But anyway, thank you so much, John, and we're delighted to have you. Do you want to conclude one positive, hopeful message for all of us, please?
I just really think that that America is just an amazingly, we're an amazingly fortunate country, and I think that most of the people here have such great spirit and hope and faith, and I think that I want to believe that we're going to lift out of this divisiveness that's been created. Is we can get back to a place where people have respect for each other and care about each other in a way that has been kind of dissected. And I think that there's a lot of hope there, and I think there's a lot of people that want to see that happen. And I'm firmly hoping that we get back to a place where this country can be what it can be for all of us, and for all of us. What I mean? Right. And I think the country has the potential. I think we all have the potential, and this country has the potential like no other. If we can kind of regain, and put back together some of these bridges that have been kind of blown up.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ching. It's really wonderful. And
I hope to see you soon. And say hello to John.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a good, safe evening. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.